Hi, this is Pastor Page. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson welcoming you to this week's edition of TV Confidential, radio talk show about television that thanks you for making us part of your 4th of July weekend. We're taking a few days off ourselves this month. We'll be back with new programs, brand new programs, beginning the week of July 15th. Our guests coming up in July will include Kathleen Bradley, the actress known around the world as Mrs. Parker, in Friday, and the first African-American Barker's Beauty on The Price is Right. Kathleen Bradley will join us later in July, as will singer-songwriter Kiki Ebsen. Kiki Ebsen, youngest daughter of Buddy Ebsen. They will both join us on our program later in July. In the meantime, and speaking of music, our second hour this week will include a look back at the career of Bobby Sherman. Bobby Sherman, the singer-actor who became a teen idol and recording star after starring in the ABC Western comedy drama Here Come the Brides. That is coming up in our second hour this week. Plus, we will replay our conversation with Mark Cushman about the career of the Moody Blues. We hope you stay tuned for both those segments. In the meantime, our first hour will include something old and something new. We'll begin with something new as we welcome back actor, author, producer, magician, and adventurer Rich Manley. Rich has packed in and, more importantly, soaked in the knowledge and wisdom of more life experiences than many people have in their lifetimes. A lot of this has to do with Rich's background, which includes tutelage in the martial arts under Shaolin monks, which makes him not unlike Kane, the character that David Carradine played on Kung Fu. And a lot of it has to do with Rich's love of travel, where he has spent time visiting many indigenous cultures all around the world. Rich brings the best of both worlds, his experience as an illusionist, his experience as a traveler. He brings all of this to his very popular Tubi series called Culture Shock, Bridging Cultures Through Magic. I understand Tubi recently renewed Culture Shock for a second season. We'll ask Rich what's in store and a whole lot more in just a second. Rich Manley, welcome back to our program.
Pleasure to be back. Great to chat with you.
And congratulations on the renewal of Culture Shock. I know Tubi has been pouring a lot of money in general since the start of 2025. I'm glad they've invested in you, and you have a good show, and looking forward to seeing what else you have on tap.
Much. No, I appreciate it. It's been quite an experience. I mean, it started out years ago where we developed the show, and the show started where the very first international travel I did, which was many, many years ago, to Egypt, where I learned that magic and doing magic for people had this unique way of connecting and kind of breaking the ice, and that's really where it developed. And it flourished with the idea that my grandfather was a world traveler and a magician himself, and he had learned the skill of sleight of hand through medical school in the 40s, when that was something that some surgeons learned to be better with finger dexterity. And he taught me magic when I was 10 years old, and so this show is really very much a homage to him, as it is a kind of eye-opening experience for the audience to see just how magic connects all of us.
Well, two things. One, you anticipated one of my questions, which is your grandfather was a surgeon, and anybody who has had an operation that requires the use of a surgeon hopes and prays that they're good with their hands and they're steady with their hands, because surgery is a skill that requires tremendous concentration as well as steady hands. And I never thought there was a through line between surgery and what you do as a magician, but when you look at it that way and considering what your grandfather did and what he introduced you to, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yes. It was an interesting combination because it was a skill he learned, and it's something he did on a lot of his travels to remote areas like the Andes, the Amazon in Peru, and Tibet, different areas of Japan, and just all over the world, really. And he'd bring back these trinkets and artifacts that he'd keep in this Indiana Jones looking study, and it just inspired me to learn more about cultures and the world. And that's when he, one day I remember it was I was 10 years old. I snuck into his study, and he showed me my first card trick. And from there on, I practiced magic at 10 till now, and been fascinated to want to travel to these remote places.
Rich Manley is on the line with us. Rich Manley, the adventure illusionist and the host of the very popular Tubi series Culture Shock. Culture Shock was recently renewed for a second season on Tubi. You can enjoy the first season of Culture Shock, Tubi.tv, Tubi app, many other ways in which you can enjoy the content of Tubi, and particularly Rich Manley's Culture Shock show. Rich has a live stage show called Diary of Magic, which will be touring across the U.S., as I understand. We'll ask Rich about that in just a second. But first, give us an idea, if you would, please, Rich, of what viewers can expect to see both in the second season of Culture Shock, and if they haven't had a chance to watch the first season, what can they expect too?
Of course, yeah. So, the first season really delves into the why, and it shows why I do what I do, in following my grandfather's footsteps, receiving his old travel journal, which is something he kept notes in, and all the places he visited. And it was kind of the way we designed the show was the roadmap. It's whatever was in that journal was where I would go and see what he experienced and kind of what he kind of taught himself, and in a way was trying to, through his spirit talking to me in a way, trying to teach me about what he learned. So we use that as the roadmap to go to these various countries. And so the first season really delves into, let's follow this journal, let's meet people. It's about the culture. It's about doing magic for them. It's seeing how they react to magic. And the second season delves into that as well, but it kind of, the journal to an extent takes a back seat. And now it's more, I found my own way. I'm traveling by being inspired by my grandfather, but not so much following the journal, just places I'd want to visit. And it really focuses more on the cultural aspect, plus the magic, plus a lot more adventure, because now we're using adventure to get to these remote areas. Our first episode is in Bolivia, and I just returned from Bolivia, and it was, it was crazy because I got altitude sickness. You get into a pause, you're at 11,000 feet already. And then we went up to about 18,000 feet with these ice climbing, mountaineering women, and they're called Cholitas Escaladoras, which is roughly translated as mountaineering women. And so they're a fascinating group of people that we went to visit and climb to these mountains with, and obviously performed magic. But it's a fascinating study into how these people live, plus including the adventure. So that's what people will see in the second season. A lot more magic, a lot more adventure.
Rich Manley is on the line with us. Rich Manley, the adventure illusionist, and Rich is also the host, producer, writer, and director of Culture Shock, Bridging Culture Through Magic. First season of Culture Shock available viewing on demand on Tubi.tv, TubiTV.com. Tubi recently renewed Culture Shock for a second season. Culture Shock attempts to communicate the energy, humility, and compassion of people from different cultures, different countries coming together through the shared experience of magic. Each edition of Culture Shock features dangerous stunts, exploration, tests of will, and illusion, as well as illusions that Rich shares with people from all over the world and which they share with him. For more about the show, besides checking it out on Tubi, go to cultureshockmagic.com, cultureshockmagic.com. And it's a wonderful way, illusion, magic, it's one of those universal languages, Rich, that if you may not understand Peruvian, and Peruvian people may not understand English, but they know what it means to be awed by a demonstration of sleight of hand or something even more elaborate.
Yes, very much so. That was, and still is, really the through line through the whole show, is that, you don't really have to speak the language. And, a lot of, when we went to Peru, we were able to communicate with some of the people in the city. A lot of them speak Spanish, but there is a lot of individuals, specifically the ones that live high up in the Andes, where we were seeking out, that don't. And these particular people are Quechua, and they speak a specific language called Quechua. And so when you travel up to those places that communicate very differently, and you may not know any of the words of that language, once you do magic, and they can there's that understanding, with each other, where you show a deck of cards, or you take out some coins, or in this case, I made a piece of their alpaca fur from one of their alpacas levitate in the air. Doing something like that, it's an instant understanding of, wow, I'm watching something amazing, and it brings everyone into that circle of just, we're all coming together, we all understand each other, we're all witnessing something miraculous. So I always say in this show, it's a lot of times in magic shows, magicians will do a big spectacle sometimes, and it's a lot of the attention is on the magician. But for this show, the attention is off the magician, and it's really about how do these people perceive what they are seeing, just as much as the magician, myself, is perceiving what I'm doing. And it's that kind of unspoken communication that really, I think, is the icing on the cake for the show when people watch it.
The first season of Culture Shock, Bridging Cultures Through Magic, Rich Manley's Tubi series, is available viewing on demand on Tubi. The second season of Culture Shock in the works. That'll be coming to Tubi sometime soon. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
Hi, I'm Mel Larson with the Magic Castle in Hollywood. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Rich also has a live stage show called Diary of Magic, which will be touring in venues across the U.S., I understand. For more on Rich, 12thplanetproductions.com, cultureshockmagic.com, expeditionrich.com, or you can follow Rich on Instagram at either Rich C. Manley or Culture Shock Manley. What can you tell us about the Diary of Magic show, and where can people find out whether it's coming to a city near them?
Yes, of course. There was a slight adjustment, and I probably should have told you about this, but we did tweak the title a little bit. It was originally called Diary of Magic. It's now being called Journal of Mystery. So the new title is Journal of Mystery, and the first show is premiering here in Hollywood on July 12th at 8 p.m. So the first show, again, July 12th, 8 p.m. at the Loews Theater in Hollywood. You can get your tickets on Fever. It's on there. There's a link to just type in Diary of Magic. In the Hollywood area, you'll find those tickets. You can also go to my website, www.expeditionrich.com. Go to the store section, and you can purchase tickets there as well. And this show really is a touring show of my experiences traveling around the world and meeting these cultures and meeting these people. And it's a storytelling experience where I explain what it was like to get there, some of the dangers, some of the near-death experiences, and then some of their magic, what they believe in. And then when I discuss what they believe in, I then present that to the audience, invite people on stage in an interactive experience where they get to see the magic of the particular region firsthand that I perform for them. So these shows will be touring throughout the U.S. First one in Hollywood. The second one is looking like it will be somewhere around Hawaii, and then from there we'll be going into Ohio, we'll be going to the Bahamas. But that schedule will be listed on expeditionrich.com, and any updates on when that's coming out, you can check it out on that website.
expeditionrich.com for information on the premiere live show of Journal of Mystery, which will be coming to Hollywood on Saturday, July 12th, as well as the other upcoming shows in Kauai and the other places that Rich just mentioned. expeditionrich.com. Couple more questions if I can, please.
Sure.
I've had a chance to talk to a few professional magicians, including the late, great Milt Larson, who you knew, because he's the man behind the Magic Castle, and Rich Manley is a member of the Magic Castle. Milt once told me there are like two types of magic. There's the big box, elaborate illusions that we think of when we think of David Blaine or David Copperfield, and there's what's known as table magic, which is the up-close and personal sleight of hand, like card tricks and things like that. From what I've seen on Culture Shock, you do a little bit of both. In general, because you've been to a lot of different places, and the experience of people in Peru may not necessarily be the experience of the people in other places you've performed at, Rich, but in general, do people prefer the up close and personal versus the big box, or does it all depend on what you're doing?
That's an interesting question because it is very situational. I will say, even giving an example from this recent trip to Bolivia, this was probably a very difficult trip because of the language barrier. We do have people on our team that speak Spanish, and primarily that's the language they speak in Bolivia. So I don't know that much Spanish. So I'm not a Spanish speaker. I know select words, but so when you're doing effects, a lot of times when it's close up, specifically when it's cards, there's a lot of explanation. There's a lot of okay, I'm going to shuffle the cards, I'm going to have you pick a card, I'm going to have you remember the card. There's a lot of instruction. So there's, when you have that kind of instruction and you're doing it, obviously, in English, there's a translator, and in this particular trip to Bolivia for season 2, we had a translator who was translating everything, but at the same time, it slows the process of everything because, I'll have to explain to pick cards, do this, do that, and then the translator will have to translate, and then we have to wait for that, and then it's this long back and forth where I found that the best time to do things that are more visual, and I guess less is more in terms of speaking, are when those situations arrive, where there is really a language barrier, and either the other side doesn't speak English, or you're just not very well versed in, how to communicate with their language. The visual tricks work better. A levitation, for example, making something disappear, reappear. So more of those visual stunts are better than some of the sleight of hand, complicated effects where, if I was going to do a complicated sleight of hand routine here in the States or at the Magic Castle, people can follow along with the story. And I think that's what Milt kind of is referring to, is that you have effects where you can tell a story. And then you have effects that just speak for themselves, where you just do it, and everyone watching, without saying a word, is mystified. And those types of effects, the mystifying, visual type of magic is really what works in a lot of these places. But at the same time, you know, I never wanted to do effects or magic tricks that solely relied just on those visual elements. I do love telling a story, so when I do go to regions and I find people in a particular community that do speak English, I will lean into more of the close-up, sleight of hand, pick a card, or watch this coin, or watch what I'm doing, or I need to talk a little bit more. So it is very situational, and magic, I think, is like that. Magic is, you have to be able to be very adaptive. You have to be spontaneous. You have to take all the skills you've learned and really read the people. So when you read the people or the community, you'll see yourself internally, okay, I'm going to do something that's just going to be very visual, or I'm going to take the time and craft a story because I think they'll like this just a little better.
If I'm following you correctly, Rich, to the extent you can, you want to present the steak more so than the sizzle.
Yes. It's oftentimes easier in the situations I'm in to do it that way.
Rich Manley is the host and producer and director and writer of Culture Shock, Season 1 of Culture Shock, available viewing on demand on Tubi. Season 2 in the works. That will be coming to Tubi very, very soon. His Journal of Mystery live show, series of live shows, will premiere in Hollywood Saturday, July 12th. Is there anything else in the works that you're at liberty to tell our listeners that I haven't already asked you?
I can say a little bit about a stunt that will be coming. I can't mention any particular networks, but I can say that there is a big stunt that is happening that will be televised, and it will involve the ocean, and it will involve a big magic spectacle. More to come on that, and which network it will be on. And this will be a big one. Again, that'll always be on expeditionrich.com. And I also have just released a set of playing cards that is a custom-designed deck of playing cards from the USPCC, the United States Playing Card Company, that also prints bicycle playing cards. If anyone has those bicycle playing cards they play poker with, we have just launched with them a custom deck of playing cards for purchase on expeditionrich.com.
Expeditionrich.com, Culture Shock, Magic.com. When you are in a position where you could talk about this big illusion that will be nationally televised, please come back and visit us in TV Confidential.
I would love to.
In the meantime, Season 1 of Culture Shock, Bridging Culture Through Magic, available on demand on Tubi. For more information on Rich's Journal of Mystery live show, including the very first performance of Journal of Mystery, which will take place Saturday, July 12th in Hollywood, California, expeditionrich.com.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.